Yeah, a habit, a lifelong, yeah.
Yeah, this is part of your duty as a citizen to know what's going on.
And I feel like it used to be that way.
We used to teach civics.
Well,
right?
yeah, I
There
mean,
you go.
exactly. And, it's super important. And you just see when we're trying to do things that are as simple as having civics workshops that, we're talking about a universe of people who are very, very smart and very highly educated, yet that piece is missing.
Yes.
And that there's something that feels just not right about that if that's how, if that's been lost somehow in the education chain. That just...
Right,
That
and we
just
see
seems
that all
wrong.
of the time.
Yeah, totally.
Really with our membership, really smart, very talented people who are leaders in their field, who
Oh, yeah.
don't feel
Haven't engaged.
connected. Yeah, and haven't really been able to connect, and felt sort of left out of the loop and are, waking up to that fact.
Yeah.
But you know what? You have to want it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have to want it. You have
Motivation
to.
has to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? For me, it's always, I got involved really after the 2000 election and what that brought up in me. But it was clear to me that I'm never going to be able to give anybody $1 million who's running for office, and what I have is my voice and I have my vote.
Yeah.
And that's it. Those are what I'm entitled to as an American citizen. And if I don't use it, shame on me.
And I was just going to say, what greater gift could you have than that, really?
Yeah.
I mean, again, that is
Until
what
they
being
shut
an
me up.
American. That's what being an American is about. And so
Yeah.
everybody should be able to embrace that. Everybody should be able to use that and own it.
And you know what I like too? I mean, I not just your group, but in general, Indivisible has challenged Democrats. And they needed to be challenged. And I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm a Democrat elected official. But I've been highly critical of our party over the years because we were on cruise control.
Right.
People were saying outrageous things and saying non-factual things, and we didn't stand up to it. We were so adverse to controversy that we let the outrageous become the normal.
Right.
And that's on us. And I just have to give a shout out to Senator Gillibrand, who has been really like turned into a real leader. And I'll be honest with you, I was against her getting appointed, and I very rarely say this, but I was wrong.
Wow.
I mean, she's really turned out to be our best senator, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, she's held fast and strong in her resistance of the Trump agenda, hands down. I mean, she has not wavered for the most part now.
And the stuff that she fights for, I mean, she really fights. I mean, I watched her in the 9/11, getting rights for the workers at 9/11, and she was tenacious, and she didn't quit. And I had a lot of friends involved in that, and she won my support forever.
That's great.
Over that.
Yeah.
She was
That's great.
She was a stand-up lady.
But I do think you're right. I mean, this is about accountability.
Yep.
And so it doesn't matter what political party you're a part of. If you're not, if people aren't going to find that you're being accountable for your actions, then you need to be called out on it.
Yes.
It's very simple. I mean, and so that could be a number of different things, but it's kind of that nobody is necessarily safe sort of environment. That's because people are watching and paying attention for the first time in a long time.
At every level.
At every
I
level.
mean, I
Absolutely.
think that people have really elected officials have really gotten the message that at
Yes.
every level,
We're watching.
we're
Yeah.
watching, we're engaged,
Yeah.
we care, and we want government to be a reflection of our value system.
Exactly.
When I was a trustee in the Village of Mamaroneck, there were 4 or 5 people who really followed village, and they still do, really followed village issues very closely. And I'd get up for work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and there'd be 3 emails. And I'd be like, do these people sleep?
Right.
And, part of us, sometimes I really felt like, oh, come on, give me a break. But then, I'd read them, and I'd say to myself, you know what? Sometimes they really have a point, and sometimes they don't, and I'll tell them when they don't. But at the end of the day, they made me a better trustee. Because, they were smart people bringing up valid points, and they'd done their homework. And sometimes they were on base, and sometimes they were off base. But it made me think. It made me think about my decisions, and it made me, it made me better.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a very simple thing. I mean, it's the squeaky wheel
Yes.
gets the grease. I mean, that's pretty much says it all. So, if people are, if people are making those phone calls and writing those letters and being engaged, I mean, it's going to get their, it's going to get electeds' attention, and rightly so.
One of the things that I was so amazed by is that after Trump had the first order about immigration from the 7 majority Muslim countries, he did that on a Friday. And Saturday morning on social media, like totally organically, people I knew from all over the country and friends I grew up with just said, "I'm going to the airport."
Yeah.
And there was no higher authority that said we should all meet at the airport. They were all just like, the hell with this. I'm going to the airport.
Right.
This is
I
nonsense.
know what I need to do.
I'm not
Yeah.
standing for this.
Right.
And they changed. The ACLU and those folks changed the whole perception of that. And they really, they stopped people's civil rights from being violated.
Yeah.
And that to me, that was like, wow. Like people, it was like, it was so refreshing.
Yeah. No, it's that, again, it's getting to that, it just taps into something inside people. It just really motivates them. I mean, it gets to the core of, I guess, what I would say really makes them human, which is caring about other people.
Yes.
And what they want to see, reflected in their society,
Exactly.
and what they want to see happening and governing in their country. So it's very much a grassroots movement, and we see it in Westchester, absolutely. From our membership, we're constantly meeting new people. There were Indivisible groups. There were at least a couple that we know of that were in existence prior to us starting Indivisible Westchester, and really looking to form a coalition all across the county with folks who were interested in doing, this type of work in their spare time, right? They've taken this on because it's not like they didn't have busy lives before, but it really is that grassroots movement where we're not driving thing. We hope to keep people informed and
Right.
give them tools and a
Right.
basic rate framework and train them and do some education.
And what inspires one person might not inspire the next
Exactly.
person.
Absolutely.
And
And
that's
that's great
okay.
that we
Yeah.
have that diversity.
Yeah, it's really been fun to watch. As someone who has been involved,
Yeah.
to see people who are smart and have many skills all of a sudden say, I'm not going to take this anymore.
Right.
And you know what, though, we have to be mindful of. It's so easy to get distracted by the Twitterer in chief.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's going on in Congress and the bills that are proposed in Congress are truly frightening. I mean, we have a Congress that that basically wants to give more money to the ultra wealthy and get rid of food stamps. I mean, that to me, right there, that to me is like, it's so immoral. That you really what you're saying is I just could care less about kids being hungry.
Right.
I want to make sure that the people who give me campaign contributions become richer. Maybe they'll give me more campaign contributions because that's what it's about.
And I think a lot of New Yorkers are offended by that.
Yes,
And
as
that's
well
what
they
you're
should
seeing.
be.
Yeah.
As well they
Absolutely.
should be.
Absolutely.
So what's next for Indivisible Westchester?
Well, I mean, it's so interesting because it seems like there's always so much going on that it's almost hard to know what's going to come up. I mean, we're working on a workshop where I think I mentioned before about the county government, so explaining what the county government, how it works, what its job is. We're working on doing a forum with a gentleman who is a teacher, but he was also a journalist in Russia, so he's going to talk a
Wow.
little bit about the Trump-Russia
And he
connection.
survived.
Yeah, so he's going to have a
And he's a
super,
Westchester resident,
yeah, he's
yeah.
a Westchester resident, and that's going to be really interesting. We're excited about that, and might do some media training workshops. So we have a number of different things that are are in the pipeline, but we're constantly being energized by people in our own groups who are coming up with ideas and different things that they want to do. So it's not just things that we come up with, it's also things that people bring to us. Somebody just started a blog over the weekend.
Yep.
Other people are doing petition drives. I mean, it's not
Postcards,
just us.
right.
Well, no, some people, they're doing like postcards, yes, they're doing events, but also just petition drives for. Some people were upset that the county executive was not, there's a human rights council, and they were concerned that they weren't doing enough to tackle anti-Semitism. So they've started a petition drive to have them have some, do more and have some some programs that, are quantifiable. So that's, it's interesting. So there's just a lot going on, not only from what we're coming up with as leadership, but also just from members themselves who are like, hey, we want to do this. How can we spread the word? So that's what the organic nature of it is. It's really interesting.
And we're constantly providing support to local groups.
Right.
So we have local groups, across the county who reach out to us. Many of them,
I spoke to a local group in Mamaroneck here on Saturday.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great. Yeah.
So, some of them have worked on political campaigns or have some idea of local what political organizing looks like, and we touch base, and it's great to be in contact with them. But some folks who are really new to the political process are looking for more guidance. So we're constantly providing support and encouraging more local group formation.
Yeah.
You know what I think it's important to do too is when you're dealing with local people, whether it's town board, village board, county executive, state legislatures, if they're holding office and you ask them a question about something that maybe is a larger issue, and if they tell you, well, I don't deal with that, don't buy that.
No.
Because you have to. If you're going to sit in these seats, you should be informed enough to have an opinion about the major issues of today.
You should, and that's accountability, and that's transparency.
Yes.
So you can't hide behind, well, that's federal and that doesn't.
Exactly.
Because what we like to remind people or educate people about is that when you're concerned about extremism in Washington, you need to make sure that you have the firewall, and the firewall is going to be here locally. And the strongest firewall is going to be the firewall that you have that's closest to you, which is the government that's closest to you. So that's going to be your town, your village, your county, your city. And so that's why it's super important to know what electeds, how they feel, what their value system is.
Exactly.
Does it match my value system? And if it doesn't, what kind of potential problem could that bring? And does this person do they deserve my support? Do they need to be voted out of office in November? I mean, these are big, issues that people need to be aware of.
And if you're an elected official and you haven't thought about greater issues, you don't deserve to be an elected official. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, I would agree.
There has to be a depth of curiosity to this.
Right.
We would say, I long for the curiosity of George W. Bush at this time.
Right.
Time,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But so, if a person wants to learn more, is there a website?
There is.
It is.
So indivisiblewestchester.org. You can go on and sign up. We send out a newsletter on Fridays with action items for the week. So that's one way to follow us. You can also text RESIST to 66866, and that'll also automatically enroll you.
66866.
Yep.
Resist.
Text RESIST.
Okay.
And that will also enroll you into our emails and our weekly
And
newsletter.
there's a Twitter?
Yep.
And Twitter is Indivis Westchester without the vowel. So Indivis, WSTCHR.
Okay.
You can follow us on Twitter as well.
You did that without even, you did that well.
She does it better than I do.
Well, we have to wrap up, but this has been a great conversation, and I wish you all the luck in the world.
you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy lives to do this.
It was a pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
And until the next time, I'm Tom Murphy, signing off for the Tom Murphy Show.